Alright, guys. So some of you aren't gonna be happy with this one, I'm sure. Honestly, mainly me, because I felt like this was kind of it's practically a commentary on my own life. I feel like, at least at various points and stages. This one's definitely gonna be a longer video type thing, because I think there's a lot to sort of unpack here. So yeah. But before I get started, once again, I just wanna talk about this shit again. So, guys, quick PSA, please, guys, when you drive, right? When you fucking drive, you park, right? Parking spots are designed in a way so that your car fits in your vehicle that you're operating is designed to fit in between the slots. So generally, right, they have this amazing thing that's called paint, right? And they paint on the ground. They paint lines on the ground. And they paint these lines in patterns in such a way that there's generally enough space for a vehicle to fit in between said lines, right? So guys, when you see those lines, right, and you are in a vehicle and you are getting ready to park the vehicle, you need to park your vehicle in a way that is in between the fucking lines, right? Not fucking diagonal, not perpendicular to, parallel in between the fucking lines. All right, I don't know why fucking I don't care if you're facing inwards, you're facing outwards, whatever the fuck you're doing, please fucking park in between lines. All right, that's my fucking rant for the day. PSA, right, guys? Fucking all right, whatever. Okay, I digress. Right, so let's get on to it. So today I want to talk about I don't know what I'm going to title this, but I want to talk about sort of the connection between limerence and romantic obsession over somebody and life that fuck. Let me start over. All right. Okay. So look, I want to talk about the connection between limerence and life dissatisfaction, whether that's aimlessness in life, lack of purpose, meaning, or passion, or feeling lost. Right. I want to talk about that connection between that and obsessing over someone. So on paper, it seems pretty simple, right? But I don't really hear anyone talk about this, probably because it's kind of shameful, because admitting it is basically admitting two different things that make you look very guilty. One is basically, I have no purpose, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I'm lost in life. And the other is, I am a sack of shit and I'm obsessed over somebody, probably in a one-way, like going in a one-way street because of the fact that I am lost in life. So let's talk about this, right? So if I don't have something in my life I really care about, right? The kind of care where when I wake up and get out of bed, it's what drives me to keep going, right? That energy it doesn't just go away, right? It's not going to just disappear. It's not going to not exist, but it will inevitably subconsciously seep into other things in a not in a good way. So let me, okay, I'm just kind of saying words right now. So let me fucking unpack this, right? So let's back up a little bit. So let me break it down in a simpler way. So when you have something you're passionate about, right? When you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go. It's something like you actively want to make incremental progress working towards something, whatever it is. It could be anything, right? Whether it's a personal project, right? It could be something career related, it could be something work related, some sort of hobby, your own physical fitness, trying to build something, whatever, right? It can be anything. Well, almost anything. I'll get to that part, right? You have this feeling of, I want to learn, I want to practice, I want to do, I want to train, right? These things, right? So whenever you have this in your life, you have something that drives you in life, right? It gives you a reason to be, a reason to exist. In other words, a purpose, right? It gives your life a purpose. It gives you a purpose, right? But the thing is, a lot of us don't even know what that feels like. Because I know personally, I've had moments in my life where I felt that sense of purpose and it had something that I wanted to keep me going, right? In some situations, it was work related, right? In others, maybe it was like playing games, right? This one's probably not great, but I'll get to that in a bit. That's probably not a sense of, but I'll get to that in a bit, right? But otherwise, I would say majority of my life, I just didn't get the sensation that I had any meaning in my life, right? And sort of like a sense of hopelessness, with a lot of people. And before anyone even fucking says it, I fucking hate this bullshit. Don't fucking say some, just go out there and do shit, right? Just do it type shit. Like, don't, like, yes, it is that simple. Just go out there and do stuff. Like, you will, it might fix the problem of you feeling lost and not knowing what to do. But no, it's not just that simple. Like, a lot of us have already tried, and we are just exhausted, right? We are just tired. We are lost. We can't figure out jack shit, right? Honestly, right now, at least for the past, few months, for me personally, I've been like that, right? Is it due to my own doing? Maybe, yeah, sure, but, whatever, fuck, right? So, if we don't have that purpose, right, that, that's something that makes us want to sort of get up and just go do shit. Go do whatever it is, whenever we're having a shitty day, right? Whenever we feel like shit, and we don't have anything that drives us, right? We will inevitably end up sort of falling into some sort of aimless state, right? Like driftwood in an ocean. We just kind of exist, right? We float around, right? We'll do the bare necessities to stay afloat and alive, but for what, right? And, just to exist. So because of that, right? A lot of times we'll start to fill those gaps and lack of passion and, sort of drive towards doing something. And we'll start directing it towards vices, right? I want to call it like, let's just say numbing agents, right? So for instance, the earlier example I said, when I say that, at some points in my life, playing games was kind of what drove me to get out of bed and do shit and get through the day or work or whatever it was, right? So I would say that would probably be considered a numbing agent, to sort of fill that lack of passion towards doing something that could sort of incrementally progress your life in a positive way, if that makes sense. So, for example, it really could be anything. Binge watching fucking TV, doom scrolling on, whatever you're doom scrolling on, fucking bed rotting, shit, honestly, even going to the gym, right? I know that sounds strange, but for me, at least a big part of why I just go to the gym, besides, health, and sort of keeping my sanity a lot of fucking times, is because honestly, I don't know what else to do. I don't have a fucking life. I don't know what else to do. And don't get me wrong, honestly, in terms of numbing agents, that's probably like the creme de la creme. You picked like the best possible, like it is such a S tier numbing agent. It really has zero, sort of negative downsides whatsoever. Like genuinely, even if it's coming from a place of aimlessness and not knowing what the fuck to do, just going to the gym and working out because you have no idea what else to do is probably a very healthy numbing agent. Honestly, probably the healthiest. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything that sort of tops that. Honestly, I don't think I can, right? But it doesn't change the fact that, again, it's coming from a place of sort of listlessness, right? So, all right, so that's our first part, right? Pretty self-explanatory. That's a sort of passion part and lack of passion, right? So, but now I want to hit the second part of, where that connection comes in, because this is the part that fucks me up, because this part is me, right? So, I think in the title, I'm going to use the term limerence, right? So what is limerence exactly? So I've been reading up a lot about sort of people and our behavior and psychology a lot recently. And this term is something I only sort of recently learned about, like very recently. And the second I heard the term and learned about what it was like, I feel like something clicked in my head. And I thought to myself like, oh, shit. So that's what my fucking life has been. So that's what I've been feeling this whole fucking time, right? Okay, that's a whole nother video for another time. But back to the point. So limerence, right? So, I was talking about passion earlier, right? And the passion for doing things. And you know how I said it could be anything, right? Doing, anything. And then I said almost anything. Well, here's the almost part, right? So limerence is, how do I want to break this down? So basically, let's say you take that sort of passion energy, right? That passion to do something, right? To work on something, to learn something. And you take that energy and direct it into a person to the point where it becomes an obsession, right? Which, okay, at that point, that also procures another excellent question. What is then the difference between having a passion and having an obsession? Honestly, I don't fucking know, right? I know there's a very fine line. There is a difference, right? But there's a very fine line. But I honestly, I couldn't tell you myself where that line starts and where that line ends. But there is a line that exists, right? But it is. I would say obsession is the unhealthier side of the same coin, but it is the same coin, right? So I digress. Right? So that energy, right, of what drives you to get up in the morning, wake up and do things, right? Instead of instead of doing things, now all the energy is now channeled directly to a person. Right? A lot of times it can be in a romantic sense, from what I understand, but not always. For me personally, I actually felt, for me, all the instances where I've felt limerence towards someone, it has almost always been a platonic thing. Like I would obsess over someone that I didn't really see in a romantic way, which is, I don't even know how to. I'm kind of a train wreck. Right? So limerence, right, sort of functions in the same space. It occupies the same space and it fills the same gap of where your passion in life is ideally supposed to be. I'm not sure that makes sense. And now, right, because it fills that same gap of passion, it makes you feel great whenever you go after your limerent object, right? Whenever you interact with your, the person you're obsessing over, right? And it could be conscious, it could also be subconscious. Maybe you realize it in the moment, maybe you don't realize it in the moment, right? But it makes you feel great, right? Why is that? Because you have nothing else, right? Because you don't have your own purpose. You don't have a passion. You don't have something that drives you, that keeps you moving forward. So all that energy now, it doesn't just dissipate. It gets shifted towards a different direction. Now it gets shifted towards someone, right? Another person, not yourself, another person. It's a dangerous game, right? Because on paper it sounds great. It sounds romantic, right? That's how things are if you love someone, right? But maybe not. Honestly, I don't even know what love is. I have no idea what the difference is. I have no idea. That's a whole I could get into. I'll talk about it another time. I'm not going to get into that today. So the reason why that happens, right? Why all this happens is there's that big connection between the two of feeling lost and this, feeling a limerence. And now instead of obsessing over your own life and sort of whatever passions, now it's directed towards someone else, right? So a lot of times why that happens is because if you actually take a step back and let's say, I actually talked to you and I said, hey, what is your life outside of, your limerent object? What is your life outside this person, right? And you look at yourself, you look at your life outside your limerent object, there's probably not a whole lot there. Probably just a whole lot of nothing, just emptiness, right? You're probably not doing much. Because there's nothing in your life that makes you feel like you're you. I don't know if I can fully explain. I'm not sure if this makes sense. And I'm sure there's a lot of science behind how sort of that's all tied into attachment needs and fucking different attachment styles, right? In my case, at this point in my life, I'm actually not too sure what sort of attachment style I would fall into. But it probably wouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that it's probably not secure attachment. So, because I'm kind of a fucking train wreck, right? Whatever, go figure. So, again, like I said, right? So, limerence functions sort of as a in between for both passion and obsession at the same time, right? It fills that gap, which, like I said, maybe the two are identical, right? Having a passion for something and having an obsession over something, right? Maybe it's like maybe it's a psychological difference. I don't really know, right? But I think obsession, right? The main difference is, obsession has that dark side, right? And doubly more so when you start to obsess over a person, right? Instead of obsessing over your own life or yourself, you go to someone else, right? Someone else that can give you that same craving, right? And a lot of times when we have limerence towards someone, right? I've kind of talked about this before, but sort of it's the idea of someone, it might not even be them, it's probably your idea of someone that may or may not exist in reality, right? But it's the ideal of them at their fullest potential that you warped your mind to convince yourself that's what you think of them in your mind. Like whatever you think of them in your head, whatever you just created that you think is actually them is actually who they are. But in reality, they're probably not that image, right? And that's the reason why it's so powerful, right? And it has so much, that's why they have so much sort of, impact on you. That's why they have so much power over you, right? Because the rest of your life is empty, right? You don't know what you are. You don't know what you want in life. You don't know why you exist, what it is you want to do, right? So, and a part of you inside is almost sort of hungry for connection of any kind in this sort of giant cavern of emptiness sort of fucking thing that you are, right? You're this big fucking cave of emptiness and lost in life. Because you're in this sort of endless tunnel, right? Just pitch black tunnel. And so, the second anyone walks into your life and holds even the tiniest fucking candle, suddenly your whole world lights up and they're your fucking savior, right? You're darkened tunnel, you see light at the end of the tunnel, they are your savior. And that's where the sort of limerence cycle starts, right? That's where everything fucking falls apart. Right? That's why they hold so much power over you, right? So, I don't know if this all makes sense, right? I hope you're kind of following, you guys listening, sort of following track of sort of the big connection, right? Between, again, like I said, just being lost in life, and sort of aimlessness, a lack of direction, lack of purpose, lack of sort of, meaning, and sort of obsession over someone, limerence, and having an obsession over someone instead of focusing on your own life and yourself. So what's the solution with all this, right? Let's say you can relate to the feeling, right? You can relate to this sort of experience. So what's the solution? Where am I going with all this? Honestly, I have no fucking idea, right? By the way, side note, I also just noticed I probably said the word like honestly at least 100 fucking times in this video. So I don't know, take a shot whenever you hear me say the word honestly. Fuck it, right? I gotta upgrade my fucking vocabulary, right? We'll work on that. But here's the thing, right? So every experience you do has an opportunity that could potentially branch out into other opportunities where you could find something, right? You could discover something about yourself, something you're genuinely interested in, right? Something that you genuinely want to do, right? And now that's a lot of hypotheticals and potentiallys and coulds. I just said in that sentence, yes, right? But I think that is what life is all about. You have to put yourself in sort of new and uncomfortable situations, right? Whatever that means. Because that listlessness and aimlessness that you're feeling, lost in life, it feeds off the comfort of doing the same things over and over and over again, right? It's something I struggled with. Oh, fuck, shit. It's something I am struggling with right now, this very moment, right? So, and you don't always have to be doing that, right? You don't always have to be trying new. I mean, it's good if you do, right? Don't get me wrong, but I've been saying like a lot of people that'd be a lot. Like for me, that'd be too much, right? I'd be fucking tired. That's kind of psycho for me, but you have to try, right? At as much as you can, right? You have to try and sort of find new challenges, right? And even if you can't find, that passion or energy through that process, right? Hey, fuck it. At least you did something at the end of the day, right? And, then the more you try shit, the more you do, you start sort of having less time and energy potentially to redirect all that shit towards, someone in an unhealthy way. So limerence, right? So less chances of that happening. But honestly, even as I'm saying that, I feel like that is a bit contradictory. Maybe that's also not the right way to look at it, because I could definitely see someone that is doing, always doing stuff and working on a lot of great things, doing a lot of great shit in their life, but they don't see, or they're not passionate, they don't really feel passionate about any of them, and they kind of struggle to find their own purpose and real meanings for sort of even existing. Oh wait, that's also fucking me. that's also just me. So this is all a mess, right? Okay, so I don't know, right? I'm not the guy to ask for the solution. I really don't know shit about anything, but I just want to talk about it, right? Because I didn't know what else to do. In terms of breaking free of the cycle, but I think it's good that it's good to talk about it, because and it's something real talk, right? This is not something I hear anybody really talk about, because again, like I said, it's kind of shameful to just admit that one, you're lost in life, but also two, because you're lost in life, you want to you have that sort of feeling for hunger for connection, right? And so instead of connecting with yourself and sort of finding things to sort of do and drive yourself in a positive way that builds your life, you just redirect it towards, that you redirect that energy towards, obsessing over a person, right? Yeah. So sort of I know it's sort of a handful, right? But something to think about, right? Something to think about. Anyways, that's it. Fucking, all right. Thanks for listening.